So far we've made our journal, we've made some embellishments to go in it, and we've made some pockets and tucks ready to put our journaling items in. Today we're going to look at how to add extra space for journaling and art. Adding extra space to our journals for writing and for art journaling can be as simple as adding just folded pieces of paper which we can easily tuck into our little tuck spots and journaling spaces inside our journals. So for example, we could fold a piece of paper and just slip it into one of our envelopes or tuck it into one of our little pockets that we've made like that. We could cut up small pieces of paper. For example, I've got these little tiny pieces of watercolor paper and I'll be adding a few of those, or cutting a few scraps and either paper clipping them together or stapling them together to make a little flip book, which makes a really nice way of adding extra written journaling. If you make them nice and slim, you can pretty much put these in any pocket and you can paper clip them in so they're easy to remove. So here I've got a little piece of paper that I've cut out as a bookmark, and I'm going to leave that in there sticking up slightly so that I can see easily, and then I can always use that to bookmark some of my pages in my journal. And that's a nice easy way of adding a little bit of extra space to journal or art journal on. We can create little books or fold out journals to add into our main journal by folding smaller pieces of paper and then sticking the pages together if you want to make it a much longer piece, or folding them and then adding them like we did with our main journal and either sewing them together or paper clipping, or alternatively using a stapler. And you could make these in shapes that go nicely with your journal. This little house shape here goes nicely with the theme that I've chosen this year. All these little books will fit neatly into some of the pockets that I've made, or I can stick them directly onto a page so that it flips out, and then I can add extra little pieces of paper like these watercolor pieces here when I've made the artwork, and then that neatly folds in. If I want some interactive element, then I can add some pieces of ribbon or twine behind there when I glue it down, and that will make a nice little tie. Here's another lovely little interactive element, and this is the folded pieces of paper, and I've added some pieces of handmade watercolor paper in here. These are perfect for making little bookmarks, so I'll be able to do some art journaling on these and then tuck them into this little piece, and then that's a nice little journaling element in itself, and that can then go into a pocket in the journal. So how to make this: fold your paper in half. I'm using an A4 sheet of paper. All of my pages on my journal, if you watch the first journaling video, they're all A4 pieces of paper because my journal is an A5 journal, so it's that size. So I'm using an A4 sheet, fold it in half, then fold each of the outer parts into the middle. So that makes a nice fold out little booklet, and then just fold in the base. Make sure that your edges line up. And fold that back again. Then add a little bit of glue to hold that folded edge in place. These ones will automatically stay as pockets, so there's no need to put glue on there unless you particularly want to. And that makes a little fold out bookmark holder. And to make the little bookmarks themselves, I'm just going to tear myself some little handmade pieces of watercolor paper, and then they're perfect for adding into my little bookmark holder like that. That then slips neatly into one of your pockets, and you can decorate the cover of that or the pages, or use them for journaling in themselves, and paint, doodle and journal on your lovely bookmarks too. To make the cover of one of these cute little notebooks, let's use some more of this watercolour paper, tear that in half. Then we can use that to create some artwork on when it's in the journal too. And that little book can just fit snugly in there, and you can add some staples to the outside. I use a long arm staple for this. I staple it so that the staples are on the inside. However, if you don't have a long arm stapler and your stapler doesn't meet the middle, then you could easily add a few stitches like we did with our main journal. And if you haven't seen that video, then check out the playlist because that will be in there. You can use some music sheet and book pages for your journaling too. Cutting down or tearing some pieces of this paper and adding that to a little collection of notes, and then slipping it into a cover makes a great little set of journaling notes that you can grab when you want to. It slips easily into the journal. Here are a few examples of ways you can fold paper, and these make really nice journaling spots. So this you could stick down and it makes a nice little folding open window or door. Easily done with a strip of paper, and you fold your little doors into the middle and then crease. You could put twine behind it when you're sticking it in, and then tie a little bow so that keeps it closed when you don't want it to be seen. You can cut yourself some slightly longer strips of paper and do a concertina fold so that you have more space to write in, and then stick that down or tuck it into a pocket and use a piece of twine to keep that closed. And if you cut yourself 2 strips, you could glue those together so that you have an extra long concertina. This little folded book is a zine style book, and that's made out of 1 sheet of A4 which you fold and then cut down the middle, and that will then fold together to make a little book for your journaling to go into. This fold here, you can stick that down to your page, and then it opens up quite nicely into a larger piece. And that's done with a square of paper. If you fold your paper in half to make a rectangle, and then the other way to make a rectangle, then fold it across, edge to edge to make a triangle, and then the other way to make another triangle. Then if you fold in your corners like that, give it a good crease with your bone folder or back of a pair of scissors, and then that's a nice folding area, and I think that looks a little bit like a star. I really like that. And if you stick down one of the squares, it's really easy to open out again. Same principle. You can easily use a piece of twine or ribbon to keep that closed if you want to. Alternatively, you can make a little hinge that opens and closes. You can keep things really simple by using a sheet of A4 paper, fold it in half and then half again. Either stick down and open up, or pop it into one of your pockets. And like I showed before, you can use these to cut out little shapes. I'm using house shapes at the moment, so that goes really well in my book. Then tuck them into your book, ready for decorating when you do the Advent challenge. So I've got lots of little journaling spaces now. ready to start the Advent challenge.